Thank you so much. You know, you guys are really gonna make me cry. You like what? You guys are really gonna make me cry. You guys are really gonna make me cry. You guys are mostly all the time gonna always gonna hear me say I am so grateful. I am so grateful. And I just mainly I thank God for everything that He is doing. Um, Most importantly, I guess I thank God. Actually, let me tell you this, right? Because my son was saying, "Mom, I just want you to be careful, my baby. I want you to be careful. I don't want nothing to happen to you or anything like that." And I was like, "Boy, ain't nothing gonna happen to me. God sent me down here, and He sent me here for a reason." And I don't think sometimes people understand that, right? Sometimes people, we are so chosen, right? I think all of us are chosen. We're all chosen to do something great, right? Sometimes, I was gonna say sometimes it might not turn out the way that we want, but I always feel like everything happens for a special reason. So I hope you guys are really, really ready for this powerful channel and message that I picked up, right? Most importantly, I don't know if you guys are subscribed to my YouTube channel. Those who have been leaving comments, I have been reading a lot of good, decent comments. I have been reading a lot of decent comments from a lot of people who are in a very, very, very good mind space, meaning they're not allowing others in the situation, nor are they allowing their past to stop them from, I guess, achieving whatever their heart's desire is. I don't think maybe I could touch on this before I actually jump in, because one lady said, I don't know why people do that sometimes, but that's their own testimony. Right? I always love when people they come in and I like those comments that be on my YouTube channel that have a very, very long like paragraph, and you like, why you say that? It's because that's somebody's testimony. Those powerful testimonies are really, really meant, and I love those because I believe everybody needs to hear just a little bit of people's survival, their stories, and a whole bunch of different things, or the different things that they have overcame. And it's very, very important. I'm sorry, I was arguing with my son. He wanted me to get up and get his plate, but I guess that's something that I created a little bit. So I kind of created my own little madness, but he have to wait. Right? I just got finished cooking tacos. It's Wednesday, but right here in my house, it's Taco Wednesday. So he better get up and he better take his plate to the kitchen himself. But let me go back to what I was saying. So other than that, this lady, which is very, very not tricky, was tricky to others because I'm laughing just a little bit because it's normal. But she said, "Well, I'm praying for my husband. My husband, he backslide and stuff like that." So I always like to say for those, right? Because backsliding can be so many different ways. But I always say, even though when people are backsliding sometimes, and I always say, well, what is it, right? Because well, it's a whole bunch of different things. People, they say people drinking, people cursing, and a whole bunch of other different things. But I always like to stress the point, like, all of that is like, it's kind of like, it doesn't really matter. And I shouldn't really say it like that, because when you kind of look at certain things like that, I feel like it pushes people away. That's why I was saying before, I was saying that how I was like a recovering Christian. Only why I always say that, and you guys gonna hear me say that, is because now I'm living God for myself, not because of the world. You know what I mean? Not because of what the congregation might say, but I'm living Him the way I feel like is fit, right? As long as I'm home, like I'm home, and I read my Bible, you have a lot of people, and I always like to stress that, because you have a lot of people who they're a little bit more sanctified than a whole bunch of people who go to church. You have a whole bunch of different people who stay in their Bible. You have a whole bunch of different people who are doing their own ministry. So I would like to give a shout out to a lot of those powerful females, those powerful men, and those powerful youth that have created powerful YouTube channels and they have their ministry on there, and they trying to, connect, and they're doing it the right way, right? Everybody praise God differently, and people need to understand how important that is. But for you to praise God the way that you need to, because sometimes the way that is orchestrated, sometimes I feel like that can bring a lot of different problems, and that's why when certain people backslide the way that society or whoever is telling them, it takes them a very, very long time to actually come back to the church. It's so funny. I'm gonna say this and I want to get into the message, but the Holy Spirit had commanded me. Everybody thought I was crazy, but I wasn't crazy. Because right now in this time, you have a lot of false prophets that the people in the world should see. You have a whole bunch of different people who are trying to convince people um, to praise God and to do it a whole bunch of different ways. But what pisses me off about it, because I'm very, very spiritual. I move when God tells me to move, right? But for a lot of people who never actually experience the Holy Spirit, meaning a presence of God that's actually telling you, because when I when the Holy Spirit comes down on me, and I never really understood because I thought it was a myth. Now I understand why people shout. Now I understand why people run. Now I understand why people praise a little bit different. So, uh, God told me to confront. I always confront people who be out there on the corners, or they be somewhere and they out there preaching the word of God. I always do it because I always say, if people are really actually trying to win people over and they trying to get people to come to the kingdom of heaven, not everybody should be ridiculed. A lot of people don't want to know about all the bad things that happen if I keep sinning. But if you were to focus on the good things, how good God is, and how good God can change your life, and how good God can bless you, and how important it is, to be able to have that understanding. See, a lot of people don't have that understanding. Yo, it's so funny, and I need to say this. I used to listen, like, I used to listen. You like what? I used to listen. Have anybody else say I don't have no sanctified, I don't have no church? But in church, sometimes a lot of people, we be listening to how other people pray. So you'll hear a whole bunch of other people praying like Sister Lewis. You'll hear a whole bunch of people praying like Brother Tom. But praying to God is just like how I'm talking. It's just the communication part, right? Everybody needs to know that part, right? So let me get into the message. I hope that that kind of applied to people. I hope people can understand that part. I always say, praise God your way, you know. And I always like to say, that's why, well, I don't want to say that because I don't want to put a bad stigma, meaning on churches, because not all churches are like every other church, but it penalizes the way that people are trying to come in. I always have a big thing about the way that some churches are designed, meaning the way that some people come to church. That's why I like certain churches. Well, I can tell you this: I really don't like mega churches. Only why I don't like mega churches is I feel like I'm morely like of a smaller type of a. I like smaller churches, meaning kind of like not too big of a congregation. And only why I say that is, if you're going to a mega church how like that, right? And he has over 10,000 plus members there, how is anybody going to actually be able to develop a relationship? Because if I am a pastor of this church, that means I am the leader of the flock, meaning everybody that comes in here every Sunday. So my job as a pastor, I'm supposed to know all of my congregations. I'm supposed to be to the point where if any member come to my door, I should be able to sit down and I should be able to counsel them. So how can a mega church that holds over 10,000 people actually be able to talk? Because now I got to go through all of these people and all of these people, and I'm never actually going to be able to get to know him. So just be aware of that. I don't want to change people like that, but to each his own. But always, and if I have church members on here, because I be very, very well. I don't. I'm happy that it's not going like that, but because you have a lot of people who like to challenge people, and they don't really know that these certain people are really in their word. Mm? Well, now my house about to go crazy. That's how I know this message about to be powerful. But when they go into church, it's always the judgment. So I always say, baby, the devil was sitting in the church. He's sitting right next to you. But that's what the church is. It's a whole house full of people who are not right. They're trying to get together. But I always say to be aware of that, and it makes it look bad. I always say that. So I want to get into the message. So the message that I want to talk about on the title, it says, "I love all of you." Now we're talking about relationships. I see a lot of people talking about a whole bunch of different things. And you said, "What is this?" I said, and it says, "I love all of you." Meaning, people have to, and a lot of people don't understand that, because when you are actually coming together with people, people have to accept people, meaning their whole package. And a lot of people don't know how to accept the whole package, meaning the way that they are. And this is why you have a lot of people who try to fix certain stuff. Sometimes people don't really need fixing. Mhm. They just need people to understand that they see you, right? And people don't understand that. People don't understand accepting people for their flaws and all, right? That's why I'm not judgmental. I'm not judgmental because I am not perfect. I have done a lot of different things in my life. So who am I to cast judgment upon people? Mhm. And dealing with whoever that I'm dealing with, or however that it may be, this is why I accept a lot of people for who they are. But I feel like sometimes the people haven't really been through it all. They're not going to be able to accept people for who they are, and they're not going to be able to actually love people for who they are. And that's what becomes tricky. So then it also say, because it says a wifey, right? So the girl underneath the post that's doing really, really good. I didn't even know it's at like 100,000 views and something like that. But I don't keep track. I don't, when I post stuff, I just post it because I want people to be able to identify. The same way I post stuff, it also trickles, and I become aware of certain stuff. So we're all getting a blessing together. You know what I mean? But when it said wife, right? Now you said what wife? A wife. Every wife is different. I cannot be like Rashida. Rashida cannot be like me. For a wife, man, that's why I always like to say, for everybody on this earth, I always say that shit is designed, and I shouldn't be cursing. Everybody is designed totally different, and that's problems, because the way maybe that she was probably going about it, or the way that she was trying to love him, or the way that she was trying to support him, it just didn't fit his bill. It just didn't work like that. And this is why sometimes you have a lot of girls, they get together and they want to throw out different advice, meaning, for my advice, even sometimes maybe the stuff that I'm saying, but I hope that it works. I hope people click. But this is why certain advice doesn't work like that. hmm So that falls in a totally different category. So if you want to be a wife, right, you have to look at your man and whoever that you're with. And I'm gonna say this shit. I'm gonna say this again, right? Do you accept him for his flaws and all, right? Not every, and I always say every man is perfect. You're like, girl, what's wrong with you? No, every man is perfect, and I'm gonna say this. He just needs different love. It's just that you just didn't have it. That's why I always try to say to some women, sometimes it's just not meant for you to save him. And I'm always going to say that. And this is why you have some women who be very, very mad. And they feel like they got shorted out, or they want to fight and they want to argue. Or even the man, he feel like he's getting shorted out. It's a problem. It's a problem. But it wasn't necessarily meant for the both of them to actually save them, right? For whatever sometimes people go through with their relationships, I always say that, it's just a test, right? So, and that's so funny, because I heard a woman on social media say like, "Y'all built him up," and now I'm mad because now the other person is gonna get everything that I instilled in him. No, you were just there for a specific time, and that's what happens sometimes. For sometimes maybe it just wasn't meant for you. Now maybe Teresa, somebody behind you, it got everything that he need. And I always look at that. For sometimes it's just the communication. A lot of people don't understand that. For even women and even men, sometimes people just need a ear, meaning just to listen. And a lot of people don't know how to do that, because I feel like sometimes when people are actually trying to state the case how they feel, they go back to the reflection of however that they're feeling, not actually listening to their points of view. And this is why relationships, in a way, can never balance out the way that it needs to balance out. hmm So then I also said, I think, no, I don't know if I touched this because I'm just going over a whole bunch of different notes because I was just thinking about that. So they said, have you accepted him? Like, what do you mean? I think I said that. Like, accepting him. Like, accepting him. And I always say sometimes, for sometimes, maybe, you do probably have to tell somebody because it's like a friendship sometimes. I always say that. How can somebody know how to go about certain things if you don't state that? If you don't state that case, you know what I mean? Maybe sometimes people need to say that, right? And then that's when you have to be a woman about it and a man about it. And if they can't, I mean, like give you, I guess, what you need, then yeah, then there's no need for us to keep going, the way that we are going and how we're going about it. hmm So then it says, um, it says, can you grow together? I don't think a lot of people think about that, right? And this is why certain things change over the time, and this is why some people think that, well, it happens. Some people grow apart, right? And you're like, what can it be? Like, can we grow together? Meaning, um, I don't know, just the way that the relationship is supposed to go. I always feel like every year it's always supposed to get better within a relationship. hmm It shouldn't be the opposite. But every year it should get better. Every second it should get better. Every second it should be sweeter. Every second I feel like people should love people even more, even more, even more. But it doesn't happen like that. Mhm. And then it said also because of the mistakes. I'm sorry, my phone turned around. Because then it said because of the mistakes. Now, oh man, that's deep. You like what? Because of mistakes, right? Sometimes. Mm, Sometimes I think because sometimes people don't know. They don't know. I said that the other day. I don't know why it's coming up. I don't know who wants to apologize. Somebody wants to apologize to somebody because of the mistakes, right? But then I always say you have to look at it. For instance, sometimes people don't know. So you really can't hold people accountable for that, for like that. And you'll have people because of the things that they have done. And some things can be very, very bad. It can be very, very bad. But you have to look at it. You have to look at everything um, as a whole, as one. And then it says something about our journey. Like, what type of a journey, are you on? Uh, do people, and I don't know why this is coming too, and I always say this, what is going on? This is like a godly sent, divinely purpose message. Because I was about to say um, that's very, very special and very, very unique when people purpose align, because sometimes it's like, yeah, that's why I think sometimes when people say we're unequally yoked, meaning we're not being in sync, like coming together, right? But what's your purpose, right? Do your purpose align? You know what I mean? The drive, because that'll make everything complete. Some people are just not like that, right? And this is why you have, well, I think sometimes that work kind of good though too sometimes. But I was kind of thinking about the off scales of it, right? You'll have some people who are a lot more. I don't know why people be like that, like a lot more like outgoing, but then you have a person that's kind of like laid back, chilled back. And then that's when the problems be, because some people just want people. I don't know why I was gonna say that. Like be like a house, like a potato, like potato, like in the house. You know, some couples they don't want to do anything. When you have some people who want to do stuff, they want to go places, they want to experience things, and then that's what dampers it and make a lot of different, the relationship born. That's why you have a lot of couples that like to get with couples who love to travel. You know what I mean? They love to do great activities. So you have to see that. So once again, when it's coming to that aspect, And you have to say to yourself. So what else did I put down here? Damn it. I keep shaking my phone. Oh, I said that, but that was during an apology. It says, you can't hold sometimes you can't hold people. I don't know what I mean by that. Like accountability for certain things. Mm. Accountability, it goes a long way. But I don't want people to be in sorrow because I feel like people being in sorrow. Like I feel like I hear like a conversation like people are talking like, yo, I just did so much. So much. I just did so much. I did so much. But that's when it comes back into, I was trying to say this before, but I couldn't say it. But people, that's why people don't understand forgiveness. Like, what's forgiveness? Forgiveness is like when you really, honestly, sincerely forgive somebody, right? And you have to take a stand, like how can I penalize somebody if they don't know how to love? How can you penalize somebody if they didn't just know how to do that? Mm. And that's where the accountability come on the other part, right? For even sometimes when you have let people do so fucking much, I don't mean to curse, right? So now you gotta take accountability. He's like that because you allowed him. She's like that because you allowed her to be like that. So you can't point the finger and put the blame all on other people. People have to be old, wise enough and in that space to be able to say, nah, it wasn't your fault. I always feel like that. I'm a woman like that. I take accountability for everything. I'm just not gonna let nobody just fall on the sword. Nah, especially if people didn't know, they didn't have no understanding about anything like that. So I can't be mad about it. I can't feel no type of way about it because you didn't know. But now since you know, now since you get it, then now it falls underneath another understanding. So then it says, when you get within that space of just you two actually knowing each other, a lot of people got to sit down and talk about a whole bunch of different things. I don't know why people don't want to talk. But within this conversation, this is when you have to ask people, like, what do you want from me? What do you want from me? Or what do you need from me, right? You have some people who just want people to sit still. Some people don't even know how to sit still. You're like, what you mean sit still? And this is what makes stuff so crazy sometimes. You like, why? And I don't know why it's going into, maybe somebody wants you to, just to be a housewife, right? And this is what some of these guys fail at. You like, why? Because you have some women who just don't know how to do that. You like, what? You just have some women who just don't know how to do that. Like, meaning being in a household, he just wants you to stay home. He wants you to take care of the kids. He wants you to have a whole bunch of different things like it's done. hmm And people don't know how to do that. Because when you're actually a housewife, the only thing that he wants you to do is keep him at peace. You're like, girl, no. The peace means no argument, no problems. You know what I mean? No this, that, and the third. Making sure everything is okay. You're like, girl, I ain't nobody. I'm not his mother. No, no, no. But you're actually in that position because you said you wanted to be a wife or however that it may be, or you said you didn't have a problem with it, right? So, and that be the problem. So ask people, what do you want from me? What do you need me to do? And now people have to honestly be in that space and say, like, are you able? Can you do it? You're like, what? You're like, yes. And people can't do that. People can't do that at all. That's why I was saying the other night when I came on here, I was saying about the respect thing, right? When people have a lot of respect for you, then they would act and they would be totally different. Meaning the way that they treat you, the way that they go about it, the way that they're gonna show and they're gonna prove to you, like every second, every moment of the day, how special that you are, how much they value you. So it's not gonna be like, oh my God, like he's never around. No, he's gonna be more. He's gonna be looking more forward to come home. He's gonna be, it's not gonna be, that extra stuff. Meaning, like, damn, like, oh man, it's like 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, however that it be, and he's not here. No, he's gonna make it his business to be home at a certain hour. He's gonna make it his business just to be present. So people have to keep that in mind. But like I love all of you, right? And you have to be able to people. Some people can't say that because loving somebody totally, meaning even on their down times, right? And people and couples don't understand that. For sometimes that's why I always say that's why men always want to have a freaking bat cave. You're like, why? And it's good. I think every man should have a bat cave, just like us women should have a princess cave. You're like, girl, no, because sometimes that's like his chill spot. Like every man and every woman need their own personal down space where they can just um be able to just relax within their own personal space, right? Within their house or wherever that they are. Cause that stuff be needed for people. People need that. People need that um release, and people don't understand that part. So I say again, if you want something really bad, right, you will make sure you go about it the correct to the answer machine. But yeah, that's simple. So once again, my name is Majesty Angel. This is kind of like what I do. I was channeling a whole bunch of different things, right? So be careful. You like what? And people misuse that word love. If you're ever telling somebody you love them, that means you are permanently there. You like what? And people had to understand that sometimes when they say, okay, because you also have people say, well, I have to love you from afar. Right? Doesn't mean that I will never be there, but I just have to love you from afar. Sometimes people have to do that shit too sometimes. I always say that as much as it may hurt sometimes, but sometimes people need that separation just a little bit. I always say that sometimes. You need the separation for the both of you, right? And people need to understand that. You like what? Because separation, it's a difference between a person saying, I'm not complete. I still want to be out there in the streets. I still want to run away, run around. Because when people say separation, people jump out the window. You like what? Jump out the window. People use that separation part as a crutch to be able to run around and do a whole bunch of different things. When you're separating from somebody, that's meaning that you're actually going over a whole bunch of different things. And you're trying to actually figure out is if this is what I want to do or how I can go about it to make it better. You know what I mean? Is there any flaws within me, right? That I need to change within myself. How can we make this relationship work? How can we make this relationship better? Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. So yeah, let me go. My dogs is going crazy. Let me go. Let me call who I need to call. Because they're going to keep calling my phone. They're going to keep calling my phone. They're going to keep calling my phone. I hope everybody's going to have, enjoy the rest of your night. It's always a blessing. Always a blessing. And I appreciate all of those people who are, standing on big business. Let me tell you something. Because I don't know why I need to say this. I don't know why. And I might, like, really throw people off. It is 2026. You like, I'm gonna say that. I think I'm gonna have to say that all year. It's 2026. Do not allow somebody to penalize you. Meaning, people can do and they can be whatever that they want to be. Mhm. Just because you might not like it, you don't like it, don't mean that I have to dislike it. And that's what you have, right? A lot of people keep talking about all of this other stuff. I don't really like talking about all of that other stuff, right? Right? Because just because you have a perception or because the way that you feel about it, that's your feelings. You know what I mean? You can't put that on somebody else. Because just because you don't like it doesn't necessarily mean that I don't like it. Right? I always say that my channel is very, very open. I would never come on here and be like, you can't do this, you can't do that. Mm-mm. I believe sometimes people have to understand and they have to go through their own stuff sometimes. But I always say, look at the world that we're living in. We're living in a world of greed. I don't care what nobody say. This world is always going to be like that. It's always going to be 50-50. My brother ain't never lied when he said that. It will always be a fight against good and evil no matter what. No matter what. I just hate when people try to cast judgment on certain things that they don't understand or they don't know. And then people be talking about a lot of certain different things that they won't even be able to experience in their life. hmm So they go through the different things that they have heard other people experience or go through it, right? I always say, for when you're dealing in different arenas and different things, always look at it. Like the average mind is not really dealing with what it sees. The average mind is not capable of receiving the information or receiving the trauma that they have saw. You heard what I said? Let me say that shit again. The average mind, right, dealing with certain people cannot handle the certain different things that they have seen in front of their face compared to what others might see or might go through or however that it may be, right? So don't do that. It's just that your ass was weak. You like what? I look at it like, and I shouldn't say it like that, right? So because you had a bad experience at whatever that you was doing, doesn't mean that the other 5 to 15 people are going to feel like how you feel. And people have the right, once again, like I say, to do whatever that they need to do. Because you will be surprised. Just because you don't like it, it's about a million other people that's on the same time and is on the same way. It's the way people handle things, it's the way people deliver things, and it's also the way people represent certain things. So if you have a class of people who have been representing or have been making certain things look very, very bad, then that's up to you. I was going over a Masonic book audio today. It was very, very interesting. For it said within the Mason book, it said, for what they say, for those, I forgot how it said, but it said for only those who are seeking enlightenment, right? Everybody want to talk about all of this different stuff, right? But dealing, and actually people don't know because I was kind of listening to certain things. The whole Mason stuff, it actually deals with a lot of like hidden knowledge. It talks about the planetary and a whole bunch of other different things of enlightenment to be able to better yourself, right? But it has been such a stigma on different things that people give it the bad reputation that what it is. I don't know why I said that, right? So it really like and like perk my ears up, right? I always say that. But that's how it is in the Bible. You like what? Yo, I always say, and I always ask God to forgive me sometimes because I be a little bit ignorant, right? And I shouldn't be like that. But I always say, God, I gotta read the Bible. I know everything. I done read it from the beginning to the back. But it always amazed me how when you are looking for the truth or you're looking for something, it'll find you exactly when you need it. That's just knowledge and self. That's just dealing with enlightenment. So those who are looking to be enlightenment with the knowledge that you could obtain to what better yourself as an individual, only those who will find it, right? Not those who are trying to seek something to manipulate it. That's why I always say I'm a knowledge seeker. But the things that I find, I'm not using my knowledge to manipulate the masses. And this is what you see. So this is what makes people dangerous. Is that the knowledge that they have now obtained and now they're using it to manipulate and get everything that you need. But I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that because I'm not doing that. You're like, why? And this is why people should be responsible enough. You heard what I said? Because you do have people that will search and learn a whole bunch of different things to do the ultimate stuff that they're not supposed to do. And this is why a lot of things, a lot of people, I don't know why I said people. And this is why I always say, because I always say that. For I always believe this is why certain people should never attain anything in their life. You like, wow, this is the only judgmental part that I will ever be. Because mankind will manipulate the hell out of something. And 9 out of 10, they're manipulating it for the worst reason ever. And this is why you have, damn, here I go. This is why you have a lot of different things that are being eliminated. Meaning when you have a whole bunch of different people who you know you only supposed to, I'm going to say it like this. You know you only supposed to go fishing only but this much, right? But then you have people who are overfish, right? So that meaning since people are overfishing or they're overkilling, They're not allowing certain things to be able to produce and grow back and be the way that they need to be, right? Because now they're using something that they had gained, right, to just tear it to shreds. That's why I always say that stuff about the earth or however that is going. Us, mankind, we're not giving the earth, however that you want to look at, enough time to be able to heal, to be able to regenerate, right? But that's mankind. Some people, that's what I call distasteful. Very, very distasteful. Right? But I always say payback is a, you know what? It's always a payback, and everybody don't understand that. Uh, so it's very, 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 very tricky. I was watching this seminar with this guy. He was talking about a whole bunch of different ancient things and stuff. But I always say people always want to try to penalize shit. You like what? And you're talking to somebody. I need to stop bullshitting a lot. But you're talking to somebody like I want to get like my doctorate and a whole bunch of stuff, different stuff in history. I love history. I love history and I love ancient history. So when you're dealing with somebody who have studied and have went over a whole bunch of different things that these people are trying to convince me that's so bad, but I have done my own personal research on it, and actually sat down within my own comfort space and have researched it and have read it and went over it myself and obtained the knowledge that I need. You heard what I said? And this what makes people very, very different, the way that you want to get it. But if you had, I'm just saying, now I'm going to the left a little bit, but if you had civilizations that have been on this earth for a very, 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 very long time and have been doing stuff a very, very long time, it kind of contradict a lot of stuff that's happening. Now, move it up to the times that we're in now. Dealing with a lot of certain things that were happening back then. This is why niggas go to jail. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. If you look at it like this. And this is why, because now the law of the land is totally different. Very totally different. It's two things that I don't like. You like what? I don't like pedophiles. I don't like people who messing with kids and doing a whole bunch of other different things. For real, for real. That's something like accountable and a whole bunch of different things. But that's I don't want to go too far on the left because I know a whole bunch about spiritual energy and a whole bunch of stuff and shit like that. But that's too far stretched. I'm not going into that. But even that has a price to pay. Everything on this earth has a price to pay, and that's within good and evil. And I always come because I said I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle. I take nobody's side, good or bad. And a lot of people are not like that. So I come here to tell people about the decisions that we make. Either, the decisions that you want to make doing good stuff and the decisions sometimes people make doing the bad stuff, right? But I always say, people have their own decisions to make. I always say for people to, however that it may be. That's why I always say when I hear people cry about certain things, I always tell people, what you crying for? There's no reason for you to cry. You knew what you was doing. You knew what was going to come from out of that from you doing whatever that you did. So there's no reason for you to cry. There's no reason for you to complain. I always say that. For you was a man when you did it. So now you have to be a man and you have to man up and you have to walk in whatever happened. Just like women. We know a lot of certain things that we do. So there's no reason for us to complain, to cry, and a whole bunch of other things. For we know what we did, right? Everybody will all fall on our own sword, depending on the different things or however that it may be. Mm. So I always say that my mind is very, very different, and I love that God designed me the way that He did. Uh-huh. So until next time, it was a very, very, very good. I don't know why I said pleasure. Just coming before and just talking to people, talking to the world. Usually in the morning time, people you see my face more. At nighttime, it's kind of like a little bit chill, a little bit different here. I'm always gonna be like that, but now on, just moving forward, when you're just moving like when you're just dealing with somebody, just ask that to yourself: am I capable of loving all of him, all of him? Are you capable of loving all of her? And that means with the good and bad that sometimes come with people. People don't understand that shit either. They think everything's supposed to be like flowers and stuff. That's not life. That's not life. Sometimes people bump their heads. Sometimes people make mistakes. Mhm. And then that lets you know who's a grown up and who's not. For through mistakes, people should understand and be able to get past that. Now it deals with the severity of whatever the fuck the mistake was. Mm-hmm. And then, it's different. I said that the other night. God fearing women, people, we are the best people on the planet. I always say that. Some people should really be thankful that some people are really, really God filled. Because if people really wasn't God filled like that, a lot of people would not still be around. You wouldn't even be in people's life like that. A lot of people would have really, like a really God filled person like that, is not going to abandon you. For real. They're not going to cast judgment upon you. They're going to love you. They're going to always be there for you, right? And if they can't be there for you, they're going to go in their prayer closet. And they're going to make a beacon up there to heaven. And they're going to watch and they're going to see how God is going to transform and do a whole bunch of different things. So I say, before I close out, how good are people's faith? I hope people have a strong faith. Faith like a mustard seed. So until next time, you guys be blessed. Always stay in a good spirit. You can do whatever you want to do. You can do whatever you want to do. You can be whoever you want to. You can do whatever you want to do. You can be whoever you want to be. And you can love how strong and how sweet and as possible as you want to. Oh, that's the last thing that I said. Like what? What type of a bond do people have? Once you understand the bond and the dynamic that you have between each other, the bond and the dynamic that people should have with people, it should be so strong that nobody on this planet should ever be able to convince you why this person that you're dealing with or however is not your cup of tea like that. This is why a lot of people jump ship, because people don't understand the dynamic and they don't understand the bond that they have. That's why I always say that. A relationship is so much. First is God, always the covering, and then it's the understanding, the bond, and the love, and understanding that. So until next time, that's my last time saying that. You guys be blessed. I hope you guys hear it. My phone was ringing, 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 but that ain't nothing but a distraction. It's always like that sometimes, but I believe this is everybody is walking in their highest timeline. Nobody's not in a tunnel. Everybody knows what's going on. You should know what's going on. You should know what's taking place right now. hmm So be what you need, do what you need to do, be what you need to be, accomplish all the things that you need to accomplish, and become fearless. Right? I always say that sometimes people just need to be a cold-hearted person. Sometimes, so you can be able to get the results that you need. And always protect something. Always protect something and keep shit near to your heart. It's not meant for other people to understand. That's not their job. Do you understand? Do you two understand? That's all that matters. Mm? I like to say this, and then I would get off. Right? I keep saying for people forward forever, it's like a family ride for me, right? So it's morally family, you know what I mean? Other than, doing what I need to do, just family time, traveling, doing stuff with family, eating with family, gathering with family, having fun with family. Like I don't have no time for outsiders, but that's how I choose. So I don't know how other people are choosing in the world. But I know I'm choosing that because I tried all the other stuff. So if it's not about family and it's not about business, then there's nothing else for me to do or it's nothing else for me to say. hmm And I think once people get to that part, then it'll be better. So majority of my time, if it's not working, then it's in the house with my family. You know what I mean? If it's not home and with my family, then it's traveling. It's eating. It's having a good time. I always like to say I'm in my own bubble. Like what? I'm in my own bubble. I'm in my own bubble, and my bubble is so peaceful because I'm in control of over my bubble. I'm not letting nobody change me. I'm not letting nobody do anything to convince me other than what I know and what I feel and what I see. Mm. So I'm very, very happy with my book. Like, can't nobody convince me otherwise about nothing. I know. I know. I know, and I'm so happy, right? There's a whole bunch of people want to come back and say sorry, or I apologize, or I do better, however. But I'm telling people on this new journey, because it's so beautiful. This new journey, this new chapter, is so beautiful. Why would you ever want to look backwards, right? Why? It doesn't make sense. I don't care how much people say, I'm sorry, no, or whatever. Nope. I don't care. You like what? I don't care about none of that. No. I'm good moving forward. I'm good with making new friends. I'm good with making new alliance. I'm good with the networking. I'm good with everything that's coming forward with moving forward. Never looking backwards because it's nothing that I need to talk to anything or any situation that's in my past because my past no longer is no longer holding me a prisoner. What's going on? Damn, what's going on? It's trying to stop me from talking. Maybe somebody just choked up. Maybe people gonna have people choke up. But I gotta get off because I can't talk no more. So I guess that's a blessing. That's the unknown. Get ready. So until next time, bye bye.